Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Racing Show here at RacePlazaMedia. Before the F1 2024 season finally kicks off, we decided to take one last look at our favorite highlights of the 2023 season of Formula One. So let's get right into it. Right off the bat in 2023, a big surprise happened, at least a big surprise to me. Aston Martin had an amazing start into the season. Not only did, of course, two-time world champion Fernando Alonso join the team, but they also placed on the podium, and not just once or twice. In the first 8 races, they placed on the podium a total of 6 times, and Fernando Alonso placed second a total of 3 times in the first couple of races. Now, we won't talk about the second half of the season because it didn't quite continue as well. However, they did finish up 5th in the Constructor Championship with only 22 points behind the 4th place, which is a huge improvement because in 2022, they ended up in 7th place. However, in 2022, they only earned a total of 50 points compared to 2023, a total of 280 points. So what a huge improvement from season 22 to 2023.
12 months ago, we probably only dreamed about being in this position. So congratulations, everyone.
So I'm very curious to see how this year will kick off for them, and hopefully they can keep the momentum going.
Another big highlight of last year's season was, of course, the Sao Paulo race, specifically the last 2 laps of the race. Going into the second last lap of the race, we have Fernando Alonso in 3rd place and Checo in 4th place. Checo, having DRS on Alonso, is able to make finally the pass on the master defensive driver Alonso and is able to take P3 going into the 70th lap of the race. However, Fernando, being Fernando and the guy with El Plan, does not give up and continues to fight. And on the 71st lap of the race, and being the final lap of the race, he's able to make his final move and overtake using DRS in the second DRS zone of the race and overtaking Perez. Perez, of course, being Perez, not willing to give up, and they're going side to side into the final straight of the race. And Fernando is able to take home P3 and Checo does end up in P4. But I'm telling you guys, it was one of the most exciting races or finishes of a race last year. And what is also really beautiful, if you see both racers at the end of the race when they're giving their individual interviews, you can see them hugging and really just talking about how exciting it was to battle. Alonso saying that you cannot race any guy like this. Fernando even stating there's not a lot of racers that you can do this type of racing with on the track. And even though Checo was the losing guy in this battle, still saying that he had a lot of fun racing Alonso in this race. And even though Checo was the losing driver in this battle, he stated after the race how much fun he had battling Alonso on the track, on the race. And this is the type of racing that we want to see in F1.
Another highlight of the 2023 season is, of course, Oscar Piastri's sprint race win. The rookie of only 22 years of age made it. He actually won a sprint race in his very first season. Unfortunately, it was a tiny bit overshadowed by Max winning his 3rd driver championship that same day at the sprint race. However, regardless of that, it was still an incredible race. I mean, Oscar started at the front. However, he and his team decided that they wanted to go on medium tire versus a lot of the other teams decided to be on soft tires. So that was already right from the beginning which strategy would win. Then during this only 19 lap sprint race, we did also have a collision between Perez and Ocon. So there was a safety car that was out and the race didn't resume until lap 16. And of course, Max was still fighting for the win, regardless of if he had already won the driver championship of the season. He was still gonna fight for the first place. However, Oscar Piastri did win his very first race, the sprint race in Qatar 2023. What an amazing feat for a rookie, and in a season where Max was the most dominant driver there was.
another incredible moment of F1 that we saw last year was, of course, Carlos Sainz with his IQ over 9,000 move in the Singapore race. If you guys don't remember, Carlos was leading the race, and because he was the guy with the plan that race, he purposely was driving slow enough to give Lando Norris, who was in second place, DRS to prevent George Russell, who was in P3 at the time, to gain DRS on Norris to potentially make a move on both of those racers. What a fantastic move when Sainz was informed over the radio by his racing engineer that Norris is within 0.8 seconds of him and has DRS. All Sainz had to say, what a genius move. What an incredible idea to purposely give your opponent DRS to prevent him from being overtaken and potentially you being overtaken later on. He had the foresight knowing that Norris would not be fast enough with DRS to overtake him, however, preventing any type of movement from the Mercedes in the back. To really drive home the point on how brilliant that move is, Mercedes actually tried to reenact that same situation in the following race. However, I don't think their racing engineers understood the brilliance of Sainz's move at the time, because when they were trying to implement it in the following race, it was the wrong time and the wrong place, and it didn't work at all. So once again, major props to Carlos Sainz. What a fantastic move and what a fantastic moment in the F1 2023 season.
One of the wildest moments of 2023 was definitely the Australia Grand Prix. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. I personally don't remember seeing a crazy race like this in a very, very long time. The race had several safety cars, 3 red flags, several restarts, and it truly lasted almost until the very, very last lap. Here, I'm gonna run down a couple of the highlights for you. So it started off with, unfortunately, Leclerc retiring from the race, Albon retiring. Due to that crash, everybody had to go back into the pit. Shortly after restarting the race, Russell had to retire due to engine failure. Then after some on-field action, one would have thought that the order kind of got settled, but then another safety car, because of Kevin Magnussen, he hit turn 2 and a lot of debris ended up on the track, so they had to bring out the safety car yet again. So this meant a third standing start with only 2 more laps to go. But then shortly after the restart, Sainz got a little bit too close to his fellow Spaniard, Fernando Alonso, which started, I felt like, a domino effect. So not only the two of them collided, but then also the 2 Alpine teammates, Gasly and Alonso, collided. And then Logan Sargent and Nick De Vries, the 2 rookies, collided, which caused, as you can imagine, a big kerfuffle with only 2 laps to go. So the question was, do you restart it again from a standing start? However, they did decide this time around that there was going to be a rolling start with only the remaining drivers who were still part of the race. So that meant that De Vries, Sargent, Albon, Leclerc, Magnussen, and Russell were all out of the race. They were watching the final rolling start from the sidelines, as then finally, when the race ended, Verstappen, of course, as we know, won the race with Hamilton coming in second, and then Fernando Alonso came in third. Unfortunately, to top it all off, Carlos Sainz also received a 5-second penalty at the end, which ended up leading a lot of unexpected drivers to receive points, which he ended up missing out on. I would definitely say that this race is one of the races I will not forget in a very, very long time. Let us know in the comments below if you watched it, if you agree, or if you maybe have another race that you thought can top the Australia Grand Prix of 2023.
Our last highlight of this video and of the 2023 season was, of course, Max Verstappen's performance.
Max Verstappen dominates the Bahrain Grand Prix. Max Verstappen wins the Australian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen wins the Miami Grand Prix. Max Verstappen wins. 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 Max Verstappen wins.
He won 10 consecutive races. He won his 3rd consecutive world championship. He won 19 out of 22 races, and he was 21 times out of 22 races on the podium. He set many records last year, and I'm very excited to see what he has in store for this upcoming season. As always, in the comments down below, let us know what your highlights were of last season, and of course, let us know what you're excited for this upcoming season. And here we are, we made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. In the comments down below, let us know what your highlights were from last year's season, and of course, let us know what you're excited for this upcoming season. And as always, like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys here tomorrow at the Daily Racing Show.